please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Now, the CBI has registered a preliminary inquiry into the alleged nexus between ICICI Bank MD and CEO Chanda Kocher's husband Deepak Kocher and Videocon Group Chairman Venugopal Dhoot. However, the preliminary inquiry did not name Chanda Kocher herself. Utkarsh Chaturvedi standing by with more details. Utkarsh, the investigation has begun. Take us through all the details.
So in fact, what CBI is telling us is that it was last month only that they have filed a PE in this case. Now, what's a PE is a preliminary inquiry. So remember, it's not an FIR. Preliminary inquiry is the first stage of investigation what CBI starts. In fact, during this PE, if CBI really finds any merit in this case, they will go ahead and file an FIR. But remember that Chanda Kocher is not a part of this FIR, even not a part of this PE. In fact, in this PE, there is a name of Deepak Kocher. There is Venugopal Dhoot, the Videocon chairman, has been named. But Chanda Kocher is not named, and unknown officials of ICICI Bank is what is written in the PE, what we have getting from our sources at this point of time. More importantly, PE was registered last month, so clearly it shows that CBI has started in its investigation. So we can really see CBI really probing into this matter. What CBI is probing is the loan, just after the loan amount, this the 64 crore rupees which are being given to Deepak Kocher in his company NU powered by Venugopal Dhoot. So what CBI is really probing is that whether there are any irregularities, any illegal aspects here. But clearly, what's important is the fact that CBI has started probing. But let me clarify, it is not an FIR yet. No case has been registered. It is the initial stage of inquiry in this case.
All right, Utkarsh, thank you for getting us those details. Now, CNBC TV18 also spoke to Videocon's Venugopal Dhoot earlier. He defended himself in this entire controversy. Speaking to CNBC TV18's Shireen Bhan and Lata Venkatesh, Dhoot claimed that he did not indulge in any malicious transactions. He also went ahead on to say that no regulator or investigation agency has contacted him or questioned him. Meanwhile, ICICI Bank's chairman called the rumour malicious and unfounded.
Mr. Dhoot, we want to ask you for clarification, sir. What was the reason for this 64 crore rupees transaction between you and New Power, which was a company of Deepak Kocher? Can you explain to us that particular transaction, Mr. Dhoot?
I really telling you that 64 crore rupees matter, we don't know. Videocon Industries Limited or Videocon Group has not given any 64 crore investment in whatever company's name you call.
Mr. Dhoot, that Supreme Energy, you were a shareholder, you owned a large stake in Supreme Energy, and that company subscribed to convertible debentures of 64 crore at a time when you owned that company. And that's why I'm asking you, why did you all make that debenture investment in exchange for what?
It is the wrong information, and you say my huge investment, I had some 50,000 rupees investment. That is a huge, it is okay for me, but that's not a huge amount, 50,000 rupees, and I don't have any connection with Supreme Industries. What you company called, I don't know. Supreme.
But the reports say that you were the owner of Supreme Energy or a large shareholder of that company, Supreme Energy. This is exactly
50,000 rupees is a large. I like that.
No, not 50,000, sir. That you owned Supreme Energy, and Supreme Energy subscribed to 64 crores of convertible debentures.
No, whatever share I have of Supreme Energy, I sold. And I don't know what...
No, but when did you sell, sir? When did you sell? Because it looks like you have sold it after the transaction. The report says that you sold the shares in Supreme Energy in November of 2010, but the subscription to the debentures was in March of 2010.
Some information is going wrong. Some information is going
Sorry,
wrong.
Sir?
Some information is going wrong.
Okay.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you that I sold this share before what you have called some investment has been made by Supreme Industries.
You're saying that you sold the investments, you sold the shares in Supreme Energy before Supreme Energy subscribed to the convertible debentures? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What Supreme Energy did later on, I don't know.
Okay.
I am not involved with Supreme Energy, give money to whom or how. I am not involved in that.
Has the Reserve Bank raised any questions with you? And I ask you this, Mr. Dhoot, because a letter to the effect of suggesting that there has been impropriety in the dealings between you, Deepak Kochhar, and Chanda Kochhar's involvement via ICICI Bank had made it to the Prime Minister's office as well on the 15th of March in 2016. Have you heard from the Reserve Bank, for instance, seeking any questions or clarifications on any of these transactions, Mr. Dhoot?
Yeah, I'm telling you that no question was asked because I am not involved in this transaction. I am not at all involved in this transaction. I invested only few thousand rupees in that. And that's why you are asking me all these questions. But nobody, no regulator, nobody has asked me any question because it is not in their record that I have done anything wrong.
Can you explain to us why you chose to invest in Deepak Kochhar's company to start with? Was there a joint venture, or were you merely an investor in Deepak Kochhar's company? And secondly, why did you choose to then exit that within a matter of, about a month or so, sir?
Yeah, that is a good question, I tell you. At that time, we were investing in various renewable energy companies. We have got investment in renewable energy company. That Mr. Kochhar's company also I invested few thousand rupees, but I thought that I have done too much, and now I don't want to go ahead. So I have sold my share back, and I don't have any investment in Deepak Kochhar's company today.
Okay. Well, just to reiterate, sir, I know I have asked you this question already 2 times, but finally to reiterate, you say that when you owned Supreme Energy, at that time the company had not made any convertible debenture investment in NU Power. You're very clear about that.
I reiterate yes, that when my investment was there at that time, 64 crore rupees investment was not made by any Videocon company. Okay. Videocon company has got no investment in Mr. Kochhar's company like such a big amount. This may be in few thousand, but such a big amount Videocon Industries or Videocon Group companies has not made in Deepak Kochhar's company. I repeat again and again.
Some malicious and unfounded rumors that have been circulating in the past few days, casting insinuations on ICICI Bank and its MD and CEO. Similar rumors had first surfaced in mid-2016 and had been appropriately responded to at that stage. Nevertheless, these have been resurfaced in the recent past to malign the reputation of the bank and the MD and its CEO.
Moving on, it is the last day of financial year 2018, and how was this financial year for Dalal Street and global equity markets? Nigel D'Souza has done the number crunching for us. Nigel, take us through the highlights.
Well, what a year it has been. FY18 did come to an end. But let's do a quick recap then of how the global markets did perform. The mother market did quite well. That was leading the way, giving you returns of more than 15%. And the Japanese index as well in there with a return of roughly around 10%. So from the developed markets, you had the United States as well as Japan that did well. But we tracked the emerging markets very, very closely. And in that context, well, the Brazilian index, that was a big outperformer in there, giving you good returns. But the Brazilian real, well, that did see some pressure. There was some depreciation there. And that's why in dollar terms, those returns are a tad bit lower. Well, in fact, the Chinese market, that was the big underperformer. That, in fact, was negative for this year. But in dollar terms, it did quite well. Why? Because the Chinese yuan, that in fact moved from around 6.9 to around 6.3 odd. So that's why in dollar terms, it did a tad bit better. But let's come back home and let's tell you the whole host of challenges we saw in this year. We had the rollout of GST. So in the first half of the year, that was a bit of a hurdle. Then in fact, we had LTCG that was announced in budget 2018. And in fact, we had a couple of global factors as well at play. There was a couple of Fed rate hikes that we saw. We had, in fact, a couple of other factors like the Nirav Modi scam. That broke out in January, February of this year. And that's what put the markets in a bit of a tizzy. And finally, Trump's tariff tantrums. That was something that plagued the market, especially in March 2018 odd. But let's do a quick recap and let's focus on our own markets. Well, if you just take a look at the 4 quarters that we had in this year, well, barring the last quarter, all the other 3 quarters did quite well. So it seems after 3 good quarters, well, the markets did see some major profit booking down roughly around 400 points odd. And if you take a look at the last few fiscal years? Well, in fact, we have seen a return of roughly around 11% in FY18. And otherwise, we did see better series, but also we did see a tad bit of profit booking as well, particularly in FY16. But if you just focus on some of those indices that did well, the BSE Realty Index did very, very well. IT Index as well in there with good returns. And the breadth of the markets looked very, very good. What didn't do well then? The PSU Banking Index as well as the Pharma Index, both of them did see profit booking. And the reason why, in fact, we did have the Pharma Index that was a relative underperformer is because from the top losers on the Nifty, well, you had 3 out of 5 that came in from the Pharma Index. Well, when there are losers, there are obviously some big gainers. So pull up the Nifty gainers for you. You have Bajaj Finance, it did well. Hindustan Unilever, it was expensive at the start of this fiscal. It's still expensive, but still gave you more than 40% returns. And big boy, Reliance Industries gave you returns of more than 30%. But let's move to the broader markets then, and let's see how some of those stocks did. Jubilant FoodWorks doubled your money, NIT doubled your money, and Titan, in this fiscal, it wasn't part of the Nifty. Well, it doubled your money last year. In the coming fiscal, it'll be part of the Nifty itself. But when there are big gainers, obviously, there are some stocks that would be losing out as well. HDIL lost more than 50% of its market cap, and MCX as well lost more than 40% of its market capitalization. But if you look at the broader markets, there was a lot of money to be made. I'm not talking about 2 baggers, 3 baggers. HEG, that was a 10 bagger in this past fiscal. Goa Carbon did very, very well. You had Graphite as well, did very, very well. So some of these steel ancillary plays did very, very well. That's the list up for you on the screen. 2, 3, 4, 5 baggers, that's flashing for you on the screen. Well, let's sum this up then. The Nifty is up more than 10% in FY18. And importantly, the BSE market cap of all the companies together, the total addition was 21 lakh crore rupees.
Well, thank you, Nigel, for taking us through the highlights. Macro news from across the border now. Growth in China's manufacturing sector has picked up more than expected in March. The official Purchasing Managers Index has seen a significant uptick to 51.5 in March from 50.3 in February. Economics believe there are 2 main reasons for the shifting of gears. 1, China has now lifted winter pollution restrictions, and 2, steel mills have cranked up production as construction activity has swung up into high gear. The RBI's Monetary Policy Committee is all set to meet on the 4th and 5th of April. Now, remember, the industry has been pitching for a rate cut in the hopes that a cut in interest rates would provide a fillip to the economy. But is there a rate cut in the horizon? Here's what CNBC TV 18's Citizens Monetary Policy Committee had to say.
Gentlemen and lady, it's time to vote. Please pick up your voting boards. And the first question to you is, what should the action be? Should it be a pause or hold, if you please? Should it be a hike? Should it be a cut? Let me start with Soumya. Soumya, what would you vote?
Okay, there's a pause in this policy.
All right. Well, let me come to Samiran. Pause as well. Okay. Sajid. Sajid says pause as well. It's a hold. Let me go to the lady before I come to the chairman. Sonal. All right. Pause.
Pause.
Yes. Chairman, sir. Hold. All right. The committee is unanimous that no action. But can the MPC do something with its tone, with the tone of the statement? Again, let me start with Soumya. What would you expect the tone will be? Neutral, dovish?
I expect to be neutral to a cautious statement.
Okay, so more on the hawkish side, cautious. I would take it that way. Samiran, just neutral. You're not giving it any adjective. Hawkish or dovish. All right. As neutral can get. Your vote, your expectation?
It's neutral to cautious.
Neutral to cautious. So, okay, not expecting too much dovishness. Sonal?
Cautious.
I should expect that from you. That was your argument as well. Chairman, sir, would you expect that the MPC should or could sound a little dovish? Okay, cautious on growth. That's important, sir. So the chairman chooses to differ when it comes to the tone. He wants it to be cautious on growth and take that on board. But the 4 other members expect it to be either neutral or maybe slightly cautious.
And you can catch that entire discussion all through this weekend only on CNBC TV 18. Also, you can catch in-depth coverage of the MPC meeting's outcome next week only on CNBC TV 18. It's day 2 of Amit Shah's campaign in Mysore and Mandya areas in Karnataka. BJP President Amit Shah is on a mission to woo farmers. The BJP President will be interacting with farmer groups, particularly organic and women farmers in Mandya. At a press conference earlier this morning, Shah called the Siddaramaiah government corrupt. Distancing himself from Anand Kumar Hegre's anti-Dalit remarks, he said that Modi government policies were more Dalit than Congress.
अभी तो पूरे प्रदेश में सिद्धरामैया सरकार में के होते हुए भ्रष्टाचार की एक आंधी चल रही है। अगर गलती से भी ये सरकार रिपीट होती है तो ये आंधी सुनामी में परिवर्तित हो जाएगी। भ्रष्टाचार की सुनामी कर्नाटक की जनता को देखने को मिलेगी।
Staying with news from the Bharatiya Janata Party, the government has come out with plans to divest stake in Air India, but BJP National Executive Member Subramanian Swamy doesn't seem too happy with the decision. Mr. Swamy took to Twitter just a short while back and called the sale a potential scam. His full tweet reads, and I quote, "The proposed sale of Air India is potentially another scam in the making. Selling family silver is not divestment. I am watching who is doing what and will, if I see culpability, file a private criminal law complaint." End of quote. On to some global news. The Trump administration, in a broad expansion of the information gathered from applicants for US visas, has proposed collecting social media identities from nearly everyone who seeks entry into the United States. This means immigrant and non-immigrant visa applications might have to list all social media identities they have used in the past 5 years if they seek to see how Trump is making America great again firsthand. Staying with news from United States, a Los Angeles judge has ruled that Starbucks coffee in California must be now sold with a cancer warning. Reason? A not-for-profit group sued coffee retailers, 90 coffee retailers, including Starbucks, on grounds they were violating a California law requiring companies to warn consumers of chemicals in their products that could cause cancer. One of those chemicals is acrylamide, a byproduct of roasted coffee beans that is present in high levels in brewed coffee. Now, celebrated director Christopher Nolan is in India to promote a topic close to his heart, the importance of celluloid in the digital age. He arrived in Mumbai yesterday for a 3-day program accompanied by his wife Emma Thomas and his children. He'll be taking the center stage at the screening of 2 of his films, Dunkirk in 70mm IMAX and Interstellar in 35mm tomorrow. A special interaction with the filmmaker is scheduled to take place tomorrow. Now, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business Saturday. We leave you with a tribute to Anandi Gopal Joshi, who was India's first female doctor. Today is her birth anniversary. Today's Google Doodle in India has been changed